Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to today's session. We'll just wait for about 5 minutes to allow those who are not here yet to join the meeting. So please, if there's anybody who needs to be here, let's kindly nudge them. Good morning, good morning. Good morning and welcome. We're going to kickstart this webinar at 10:05. So please, let's keep nudging people to join. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, I see that more and more people are joining. Can we just in the comment section tell us where we're joining from? Just put where you're joining from this morning. Okay. Hi, Ruth. Ruth is joining us from Abuja. Wow. Nice to have you on the call, Ruth. Welcome from Abuja. Hey. Okay, we have Mr. Michael joining from Ogun State. Welcome, Mr. Michael from Ogun State. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, so it's 10:05 and we would kickstart today's webinar. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you are joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar titled Navigating Nigeria's New Tax Reforms. This session is powered by Smedan in partnership with MTN Business. I am Ms. Omar Abazwe and I will be your host for today's session. I'm delighted to have you here as we unpack Nigeria's evolving tax landscape and what it means for SMEs today. Just to give us a little background, in Q4 2025, the Nigerian federal government made an announcement that effective 1st of January 2026, there was going to be a new tax reform targeted at three primary sectors. First, households. So we have the low and the middle income earners. And then SMEs, the small and medium-sized enterprises. And lastly, large enterprises and corporations. Today, Smedan, in partnership with MTN Business, is set to empower businesses with the information that they need to navigate these new developments. So what we've done is, for example, this webinar today that is featuring PwC tax experts. And we also have an exclusive interview featuring Professor Taiwo Oyedele, who is the chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms in Nigeria. Now, this exclusive interview is going to be hosted on our platform, My SMEville, which is, the link is going to be dropped in the chat. It's an exclusive interview that is going to be accessible on this website. So today, your opportunity to gain clarity, to ask questions and walk away with practical insights for your business is made possible by Smedan and MTN Business. By the end of this session, you will have a roadmap for navigating the new tax reforms with confidence. So all the bloodlines, everything, all the questions, all the doubts, and the things we're not sure about is all going to be cleared in this session. I would like to introduce our distinguished speakers. With me today is Mr. Patrick Nwakosi, who is the Assistant Manager at PwC Nigeria, and he specializes in tax. On the panel as well is our delectable Omaomi Olatumosu, who is the head of SME segments at MTN Nigeria, and she's dedicated to empowering SMEs with innovative solutions. Together, they will guide us through today's session and discussion, and they will share practical insights tailored for SMEs. Okay, so just a few notes and quick notes for today's session. You can submit your questions anytime, just drop it on the chat and we'll go through it. We'll try to address as many questions as possible because it's going to be a very interactive session. And then the session is recorded and a replay will be shared to everyone who's registered afterwards. So you can rewatch and make references if need be. Okay, to kickstart things, I just want to be sure that my speaker, Mr. Patrick, is ready for us. Good morning, Mr. Patrick.
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Ma. Good morning, everybody. I'm ready.
Good morning. Good morning. It's so great to have you on the call with us today. We have a lot of questions. There's a lot of information online, but a lot of misinformation, a lot of scare for businesses. You're seeing things like if you don't have a proper narration, you'll be taxed and all of that. You'll be taxed wrongly. So we really want to demystify these myths and all the misinformations and ask the proper questions so that as a business, we know what exactly to expect. We know how to properly file our taxes. We know we can plan, literally. So I just want to ask, in simple terms, how How does the new tax reform affect SMEs, this is small and medium enterprises?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ma, for that question. So there's been there's been a lot of development really as a result of these um, recent tax reform acts, and so far in my lifetime, I guess this is the first time that we've had a comprehensive overhaul of the entire taxation system in Nigeria. Okay, and the reason why this has happened is because our tax laws are somewhat outdated. I mean, some of these laws came into effect in the 1900s, and we've been using them up until date. The world has moved on. Tax has become much more digitized. Tax has begun to be much more simplified, and people have adopted much more recent guidelines with regards to taxation. And so the Nigerian government has decided then that why don't we sort of modernize our tax act? Why don't we update it? Why don't we take into consideration of the feedback that we've received from people over all these years, all of the complaints, and then let us give them a sort of act that works, a tax act that addresses the concern or the immediate concerns of the people, the immediate concerns of businesses, the immediate concerns of the major populace. Let us leave this tax act as it is, or in all of its archaic recommendations, and then let's move on to what the future of taxes would look like, or what is obtainable in much more saner climes. And there are actually three objectives of this introduction of this tax reform act. There is the consolidation and simplification of existing tax framework, because we had sort of different tax acts for different taxes. We had the CGT, we had the PITA, we had the CITA, we had stamp duties, we had all of them different like that. And then if you wanted to make reference, you would have to quote the specific tax law that you're referring to and then go open that tax law and know. And then they're saying, why don't we just simplify it and put it all in one document? So we have all our tax acts in a document known as the Nigerian Tax Act, the NTA document. And administration has also been simplified. Instead of you're looking for the administration of the stamp duty, you have to go to the Stamp Duties Act. We've also simplified that in one document known as the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. So it's a much more simple tax system that we have now. I think the second objective was the harmonization of the tax administration across tiers of government, and then the third is the promotion of economic growth and then enhancement of equity and to digitize the tax administration system. So there's been some emphasis on the small and medium scale enterprises and sort of like the people at the lower end of the income chain, of the income bracket, really. And what this tax act have done is to sort of consider or list certain considerations for those people. For instance, small companies have always been exempted for tax from as far back as 2019 and 2020 with the introduction of the Finance Act 2019. And small companies were then defined as companies with revenue threshold of 25 million or less. And I mean, as time went, the naira sort of devalued. And if you're saying 25 million, I mean, most companies would then be able to have that as revenue. And so they would be subject to some form of tax. But then that threshold has actually been increased to 100 million. So if your revenue is 100 million or less, you're considered to be a small company and you're subjected to tax at 0%. Okay. There's also been the introduction of or the expansion of VAT, where you can now claim input VAT on services. And then for also small companies are exempt from charging VAT, giving them some sort of consideration in the provision of their services. So you're no longer charging 7.5% to your customers, and as such, I mean, your customers are happy to patronize you, seeing that they pay less when they do business with you than when they do business with large companies. There's also the sort of reduced the tax rate for personal income tax and also exempted the first 800,000 naira from income tax. So on your first 800,000 naira, after you've done all of your adjustments from income tax, the first 800,000 is subject to tax at 0%. So most people have noticed, I mean, salary earners have noticed that when they receive their January salary, they've actually gotten so much more net pay or an increase in their salary. And it might be marginal, but yes, definitely you get an increase in. So when we read the Tax Act, we should read it from the point of understanding these three things: that it is first meant to simplify our existing tax framework, two, to harmonize tax administration, make tax administration much more simpler, and three, to promote economic growth
Just
and
getting
enhance
the noise
equity.
upstairs.
And I mean, I understand if you say that it is not a totally
That way you
um,
can put your phone on, do not disturb phone.
advantageous. Sorry, I think there's somebody who is on mute. Sorry. So I mean,
Sorry for
you could say,
first.
oh, okay. You could say we have not fully gotten it, or we've not fully achieved this objective, but we believe that, I mean, as time goes on, we will go towards this objective. And this is not to sort of create some excuse or something for the government. I'm just saying what is in the documents. I'm saying what is contained in the documents, really. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
I mean, you did say a lot, right? I think it's very important to know that based on inflation, what was 25 million, it's now 100 million. So
Yeah.
it's a reform, not like it's hasn't been in existence per se.
Okay.
And I just wanted to ask, um, can you shed more light on tax exemptions for SMEs today? Like, what are they exempted from? Um, um, I, I'm sure small businesses on the call would want to know, okay, so I'm earning within these brackets, less than
Yeah.
100 million annually.
Mhm.
But what am I exempted from? Am I going to be taxed
Okay.
entirely? Like, what are the nuances here?
Yeah. So small businesses enjoy some certain exemptions. For instance, you're exempted from income tax. Okay. So if
Okay.
you're a small company, 100 million revenue or less, you'll be exempt from income tax. Well, not exempted. You are subject to income tax, but it's at 0%, really. Okay. And then
Okay.
you're also exempt from charging VAT on your goods or your services. You're also exempted from the newly introduced development levy, which is basically a consolidation of certain taxes or certain earmarked taxes like the information technology levy, police trust fund levy, tertiary education tax. All of these tiny taxes have been put together in the development levy. And if you're a small business, you're exempt from development levy. Okay, you're also exempt from the chargeable tax, or what used to be known as the capital gains tax. So if you dispose chargeable assets previously, you'll be subject to capital gains tax at 10%. But small businesses do not have to worry about that because they're exempt from it. Okay. Now there's also the requirement of for companies um, to prepare financial statements, I mean, audited financial statements in filing their taxes. If you're a small company, you're not required to prepare an audited financial statement because, I mean, it costs money to pay an auditor. You can simply prepare an attestation, put together your income and expenses together, attest that I mean, it's correct and it properly represents what has happened in your business in the last 1 year. And then you can file. There's also the requirement usually for companies to file VAT monthly. So every month you go to the FIS, you say, look, I had this amount of revenue, I included this amount of VAT, here's my VAT. Basically, you account for the VAT. But small companies are not required to register or file VAT. Yeah, as long as they know that they are not going to be, they're not going to go above the revenue threshold of 100 million. Not required to register for VAT, not required to file VAT. Really. So yeah, so these are the sort of exemptions that exist for small companies under the current Nigerian Tax Act.
Okay, thank you very much. In fact, when you did mention filing monthly to FIRS, your VAT, I know currently today, there's just a lot of speculations and information going around in which what happens when people default. You know, there are
Mm,
conversations on FIRS now having access to arrest businesses and all of that and information on that. So what really is the consequence?
Okay. So just a little NRS now, Nigeria Revenue Service. FRS is gone,
Okay.
and
Okay.
hopefully, yeah.
Everest is gone,
So
yeah.
yeah. So compliance, yeah. I guess what I did not mention earlier is with the introduction of all of these reforms to the taxes that are somewhat beneficial to the SMEs, there's also been a sort of hardened requirements for SMEs or for the small and medium scale enterprises to comply. Because compliance has always been a problem, okay? For a long time, taxes have been treated as just as a suggestion, really. For those who have employment, they really do not have a choice. The employer will deduct your taxes and pay. But the people who sort of freelance or who are professionals on their own, they treat the taxes as a sort of suggestion, as an opinion, really, and then do not comply. So the penalties for non-compliance have been increased. And really, as a business, you don't want to be in a position where you might not have taxes, your taxes might amount to zero, but when you then think of the penalties for non-compliance, you then have to start forking out hundreds of thousands or millions to then settle those penalties. So there are penalties for non-compliance of taxes or for remittance of taxes, okay? And some of them can be as high as 100,000 per month to 50,000 per month to 25,000 naira per month, and they keep increasing. And for every non-compliance, there's interest, there's penalty, and then these penalties or these interests are at the monetary policy rates plus a spread of 5%. I mean, I can go into all of the many details, but I guess the background would be it is easier to actually comply than it is to not comply. Because if you think about it properly, you might not even be getting to pay tax, but you might then be getting to pay penalties and interest for non-compliance. So I would advise thorough compliance, really. I mean, am I the one who's frozen? Can anybody else hear me?
Apologies, there's a small break in transmission. It appears we've lost our host. But please bear with us. She'll be right back in 2 minutes. Fantastic. She's back.
Okay. Okay. So thank you. Thank you very much for that response. Okay, so I just wanted to ask as a follow-up to that response.
Okay.
What happens if business owners, what if their turnover fluctuates, it goes above 100 million and below all within a year? Like what happens?
Okay. So I would touch on a number of technical points, but hopefully I'll try and simplify it a little. So there's this thing called a transitional how do I say it now? but there's a transitional provision, okay, from the current laws or the laws as they were in 25 up until the start of the Nigerian Tax Act. And the transitional provision then requires that whatever circulars, whatever clarifications has been issued by the tax authority previously before these tax reforms would still hold sway as long as it is not against whatever has been explicitly written in this tax reform. So if we have some clarification before, we can consider using clarification now, as long as the provision has not changed and it still holds. So we had some clarification with regards to how VAT would apply if you have fluctuating revenue. Okay, and then the clarification then was that if you expect that at the end of the year, because to be honest, you don't know what your revenue for a year will be until the end of the year. And then you have done your audit and then you then arrive at the revenue figure for that year. So the clarification was that if your revenue is 100 million, or if you expect that your revenue would be 100 million, or that your revenue would then exceed that threshold, you are then required to start complying. So if you are a company and, I mean, you're just starting out and in the first 3 months, it doesn't look like you're going to make 100 million. But at the 8th, 9th, or 10th month, you start seeing indications that, oh, I guess I would cross this threshold before the end of the year. You can start complying at that point. There will be no penalty. There will be no instance of audit or whatever for this specific purpose. Start complying, document it, start complying with the VAT at that point, and then you'll be fine.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that question. I know there are people who are on the call that probably be wondering, right? This 100 million threshold, just so everyone understands adequately, is the 100 million naira threshold based on revenue? Is it based on profits? Is it based on cash received? What exactly are we?
Yeah, so I think I got the question while Hanessa comes back. Yeah, the 100 million is a revenue threshold. Okay, it's a turnover threshold. So whatever it is that you do for business, whatever income that you make in that period, if it is less than 100 million, you're a small company. If it is more than, then you're a large company subject to tax. So it is not your profits. I mean, your profit is your revenue, and then you deduct all of your direct and admin and operational expenses or overheads. Really, it is your income, your turnover is what you use in estimating whether or not you are a small company or a large company for the purposes of tax.
Okay. Sorry, there was a little switch. Network glitch. Apologies for that. Okay, so I just wanted to ask what practical, I mean, you did mention some steps. If by the 8th to the 9th month you notice that you're going to reach that cap of 100 million, start getting your audits together. So what practical steps, like what do I need as a small business now? Because this is not just like a normal large corporation. So as a small business, do I need to have my accountants? Do I need to, how can I make sure that I am staying compliant? I'm looking at the woman who has a tailoring shop. I'm looking at the woman who has a salon, for example, or the guy who's just starting off with logistics or something. So how can I make sure that I am compliant?
Yeah, so we've actually been provided with a link. Tax, I can't remember it's where you can get your TIN number. Okay. Now if you go there, whether it's a sole proprietorship or it's a small company, you're provided with your TIN number. However, you would still need to be profiled for tax. So what you need to do is to locate the nearest tax office close to your business. You can actually do it yourself. You can actually do it yourself. Locate the nearest tax office close to your business, approach the tax office, and then you provide some information. So you'd either provide your business registration certificate, your CAC certificate, then you provide a written letter with some information. What's the address of your company? What bank do you use? Yeah, when you provide all of this information to the NRS or the tax authority, you will then be issued with a login details for the Tax Promax. Tax Promax is basically the portal where you can go into and then file your taxes. So you comply on Tax Promax. We do not do sort of paper filings or paper compliance anymore. It all happens on Tax Promax. You will be given a username and a password. The username will usually be your email or your business email, and then a password, and then you can go on Tax Promax and file. So locate the nearest tax office close to you, provide the required information. You also probably also provide a letter. You will be profiled, and then you can comply monthly.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that answers the question. We have a question in the chat that says, do we still file for VAT? So I think this response addresses that. Just to mention, if we have questions, please get your questions rolling. We would address every question as long as it's in the comment section. So just please keep your questions rolling in. And then I just wanted to ask as well, based on size and sector, what are the biggest tax risks for businesses, or what, in 2026, what risk should businesses look out for, and possibly how can you mitigate them?
Okay. So I guess this is where we will then come to the right gifts as narration in your spendings or in your revenue. So first and foremost, for tax purposes, the taxman computes taxes based on the available information that he has. And where you have a position, you are also able to sort of defend your position based on the available information that you have. So the first thing that as a business you would need to do is to keep good records. Okay. You need to keep good records. So keep good records of your sales, keep good records of your expenses. So for instance, for people who make sales, and it happens that maybe they make sales maybe once a week or once a month because they're running a business from the convenience of their home. And when they make sales, it's in bulk, but your expenses just keep coming. Every other day, you might need to fuel something. Every other day, you might need some transport. Every other day, you might need one or two business expenses. While you have your revenue, you should also keep good expenses or keep good record of your expenses. And this is where it might be instructive to then use a narration to track your expenses. So today I bought fuel of 10,000, fuel for business or something, 10,000, keep it, write it down on a sheet, keep it down in an Excel document, because you don't pay taxes on your revenue. I mean, you don't pay income taxes on your revenue. You pay income taxes on your profits. So revenue first, expenses next, and then revenue less expenses, then you have your profit. Okay, not just on the income or your revenue alone. So keep good books. And then the second would be at least have a basic understanding of what you need. Am I going to deduct withholding tax? How do I go about that? Am I going to include VAT on my sales? How do I go about that? The third would be comply, comply, comply. It is always easier to comply than it is not to comply, because non-compliance comes with a whole lot of issues. So comply, keep good books, and understand exactly what you need, or have a basic understanding of the tax law so that you know exactly what you need. And I think that's why this is such like a beautiful avenue, so that you have at least a good enough understanding to know, okay, this is what I need, this is what I need, this is what I need, this is how often I need to comply, and this is what I don't need to comply with. Yeah.
Okay, yes, thank you so much for that. Comply, keep good books, and understand that it's revenue. You have to track your expenses,
Yeah.
and it's very important, when you're about to fuel, maybe you want to get fuel to power your business,
Yeah.
fuel for business. I think it's very important to even state it, that
Yeah.
for business is very important to state it. And then knowing that you're just being taxed on your profits. So, yeah, so thank you for that. Please, I
Yeah.
hope we're all taking notes. Please, we need to learn to keep our good books. We need to learn how to document everything. This is a way to mitigate any form of risk that could come up where your narrations are not clear, where you're being taxed more than you should be. So you have your records and you're ready to defend what you have. Okay, so I just wanted to ask if we have any questions. Do we have questions in the comment section? Do we have? Okay, we have someone. Okay, hi, Mr. Adeogun. Please type your question in the chat. We would read it out. Please type your question. Okay. Oh, okay. We do have a couple questions I can see. Okay, first, I think Mr. Adeogun did ask, we used to file for VAT on Promax before now. Is this still a requirement with this new reform? I know you responded to that earlier, but just you could quickly address this.
Yes. So for small businesses, okay, which are businesses with revenue of 100 million or less, you're not required to file on tax Promax. However, if you want to file, there's no downside. You can file. But if you're a business with revenue over 100 million, then you have a requirement to file your VAT on tax Promax. And just in case, VAT is a tax that you levy on your revenue. And this time, it is not your money leaving your pocket. You are simply saying, on every amount of goods I sell, I will put a 7.5% on it in making that sale. So let's assume for a moment that you sell clothes and you're selling these clothes and you already make over 100 million. So you're no longer a small business, you're a large company for the purposes of tax. And you say, okay, somebody has come in to buy a clothes worth 100,000. You're required to include VAT of 7.5%. So what you will be collecting from that person will be 107,500. And then that 7,500, you'll be required to remit it to the government. Now, not all goods and services are subject to VAT. Okay. So basic foods items are not subject to VAT. So you are selling rice, you sell beans, you sell garri, you sell oil, you sell no things that people would usually eat, not subject to VAT. Okay. Now, only maybe some ostentatious items and then some other items that are not basic foods and services are subject to VAT. I hope that clarifies a bit for you.
Yes, I think it does clarify, and he had some follow-up questions. He's saying, as a company, what are the tax exemptions we have? For example, one, do we pay tax on rent? I believe that rent is a form of expense, and I'm sure the deductions have to be made because tax is on profit. But I'll leave you to answer that. He
Yeah.
also did. Okay, maybe you should take it. He has two
Okay.
other questions.
Okay. So for tax on rents, The way you say, do we pay tax on rent? I'm not sure if it is rental income or rental expense. If it is rental income, meaning you have a property and you receive rent, yes, you'll be paying income tax on that rent, assuming that you are a large company. Okay, if you're a small company, you'll be paying income tax but at 0% really. If it is rental expense, you are not paying tax on rent. VAT does not apply on rent. There's no VAT on rent. So if if you have an agreement with your landlord and your rent is 1 million naira, if you are a business, you are not paying anything extra on that 1 million. As a matter of fact, what you're supposed to do is to deduct a portion of that 1 million. It's called a withholding tax. Deduct the withholding tax, pay it to the government, and then pay the landlord the rest. So withholding tax on rent is at 10%. It means if your rent is 1 million, what you should be paying in cash to the landlord is 900,000. You should be paying 100,000 to the government, and then the government will give you a withholding tax credit note for your landlord. So your landlord gets 900,000 in cash, 100,000 in withholding tax credit notes, which he can then use to offset his taxes later. But you are not paying any taxes or any additional taxes on your rental expense. And your rent is also an expense liable for tax. So it is even supposed to help you reduce your income taxes further.
Okay, thank you very much. I think his next question is, do we not pay tax for employee that earn more than 800,000 annually? So I believe this question is, as a small business, you have employees and you have people in your team who are earning above 800,000 annually. So
Yes.
they be subjected to pay. I think this will be
Okay.
paid
So
tax, yeah.
yeah. So first and foremost, if you are a minimum wage earner in Nigeria, meaning you earn about 840,000, you are exempted from income tax, from payee tax. Okay. So if you are paying an employee anything up to 840,000, that person is exempt from tax. Okay. If you're paying an employee greater than the minimum wage, which is 840,000 naira annually, the first 800,000 is exempt from tax. Do you see where we're going now? So if you're paying an employee 1 million naira, and I'm assuming for the sake of this discussion that you're not deducting pension, you're not deducting NHF, you're not making any of those contributions, the first 800,000 is exempt from tax. Now, the remaining 200,000 is what you'll be subjected from taxes. And there's also what is now called a rent relief. Okay. If you then take into consideration the rent relief, in fact, that person might even not be subject to any tax on the 1 billion at all, because you're supposed to first of all deduct a rent relief, which is 20% of your gross pay. So if the person is earning 1 million, 20% is 200,000. Take it away from the 1 million. What you have left is 800,000. Then the first 800,000 naira is exempt. Take that 800,000 away. So the tax is zero. Okay. So the first 800,000 is exempt. Then also consider your rent relief, and then the other part is what you can then subject to tax based on the graduated scale.
Okay. Okay. So and a follow-up to that is, who do we pay to on behalf of our tax? Is it LIRS or NRS?
Yeah. So pay is paid to the LIRS. If you are in Lagos, if you are in Ogun State, the Ogun State Internal Revenue Service. Pay is paid to the tax authority of the state where the employee works. Okay. So then maybe I should do like a little background. First, the NRS, which is the Nigerian Revenue Services, is in charge of all federal taxes. Okay, all federal taxes. So VAT, companies' income tax goes to the NRS, and then withholding tax from companies goes to the NRS. But for individuals and partnerships and sole proprietorships and business name, those taxes go to the LIRS. And so when you're deducting taxes from your employees, as long as it is an individual, that tax should go to the LIRS or the revenue authority in whatever state you're resided in already.
Okay. Okay, so the tax is paid to the states that you reside in, just like you
Yes,
said. So in this
individual
case,
taxes.
cities. Yes,
Yeah.
individual taxes. Okay, I believe that you have extensively and thoroughly answered Mr. Diogo's questions. Okay, I see another question from Mr. Afeez. Is business name registration enough to be recognized as a business when it comes to business income threshold of 100 million?
Is business name registration enough to be recognized as a business? Yeah,
I
okay,
believe it's
so
like CAC registration and all of
yes,
that. Yeah.
yes. So as a business name, the exemption you'll be able to enjoy is the VAT exemption. So you will not be required to charge VAT, you'll not be required to file VAT returns, okay, as a business name. But the exemption from income tax is specifically for companies. It's for companies. The exemption of 100 million from income tax is specifically for companies. So if you have a business name, you would have to go to the CAC and then upgrade from your business name to an incorporated company, and then you'll be able to enjoy the 100 million exemption for small businesses. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we have another question from Mr. Christopher. As a person or as someone running a startup fintech company, and I just want to file for tax now, would I pay fine?
Yeah. So some people have asked me this question, and to be honest, I think that the government has not come out to say it specifically, but you can deduce that what they are interested in is compliance henceforth. Compliance henceforth. So they're basically saying, look, we have a new tax law, and this tax law is starting in January of 2026. We expect and we want people to comply with those tax law from January 2026. So if you go there, if you then decide to register your business, get profiled on Tax Pro Max, or register your company, get profiled on Tax Pro Max, and then start complying from now henceforth, the probability that the tax authority would want to go back to when you began your business 2 years ago to do all of that is low. However, if you're a business who wants to be sort of like super compliant, and you have financial statements for those 2 years that you've been in business, you can simply calculate your tax. And as long as you've not been making like excess or too much money, your taxes will probably not be that much, because you're just starting business, and it takes some time for businesses to turn a profit, because you would have earned, while you're earning revenue, you'd also be making expenses. And by the time you check your revenue to your expenses, your profit isn't that much. And then you then do taxes, do capital allowance and whatever losses. Your taxes might not even be what they're thinking that it is really. So comply from now henceforth. And then depending on your capacity, you can then go back and then sort of redress those 2 years. But henceforth is the charge. That's where the emphasis is on.
Okay. And then a follow-up question to that from Mr. Christopher is, what type of tax am I liable to pay?
Yeah.
As a
So
fintech startup
okay,
company.
as a fintech. Yes. So you see, the thing is, if you were a fintech, before now, as a fintech, you'll be paying information technology levy at 1%. If you're making over 100 million, you'll be paying police trust fund, you'll be paying tertiary education tax, and then you'll be paying income tax. But with the new tax reforms, what you'll be paying is basically your income tax. I'm assuming now that your revenue is greater than 100 million. Is the income tax of 100 million, of 30% of your profits. That's one. And then you would also be subject to development levy of 4%. Those are the taxes that you'll be subject to reading. But if your revenue is currently less than 100 million, then no income tax, or income tax at 0%, and no development levy really. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I don't know if we still have more questions. Do we still have more questions? Okay, so in summary, I don't know, do you want to give like a recap, basically, from the questions that are being asked, and just like a take home for small businesses, especially businesses that are even struggling to classify themselves? Okay, I can see Mr. Christian's hand up. Mr. Christian, please drop your question on the chat. We would read it.
Yeah, I think it's on the chat. Is there a clarification yet between 100 million versus 250 million revenue tax threshold? Okay, Mr. Christian. So the 100 million and 250 million for a small company is this: your revenue must be below 100 million, and your fixed assets or your asset base must be less than 250 million. So, for instance, I cannot say, for instance, that I am a small company if my revenue is 10 million, but I have fixed assets of 1 billion. And I'll give you a reason why. Because there are currently companies that are worth billions of dollars and they have zero revenue. Can we then classify them as small company? For instance, when a refinery is in production, before the refinery ever gets to make 1 naira of revenue, you have to incur 10-20 billion dollar of fixed assets, PPE, in putting together that refinery. Can you then say that that is a small company? So the law has basically capped your assets at 250 million and your revenue at 100 million. So you must meet both conditions to be a small company. I hope that's clear.
Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, so I can see a follow-up question from Mr. Diogo as well. Thank you for the answers to my question. Please, as a follow-up, so what am I deducting from an employee that has an annual pay above, that is 840,000, and the difference of 840,000 to what they are earning? That is, for instance, 120, okay, 1.2 million minus 840. Okay, so that is a lot.
Okay.
So he's saying basically that the deduction, he has about 360,000, and so that the pay tax would be on 340. Is he correct? He wants to get a clarification on that.
Yeah, so depending on how much it is, maybe I should just be very explicit. The first thing you ought to deduct is rent relief. Rent relief is 20% of gross pay, and it is subject to 500,000 naira. So 20% of your gross pay. So assuming that this person's gross pay is 1.2 million, you first of all have to deduct 20% that you will not tax. So 1.2 million times 20%, that's 240,000. So take your 240,000 away from your 1.2 million. Okay. If you do 1.2 million less your 240,000, I guess you would have 960,000. Now, your 960,000 is what you would then be subjecting to the graduated pay scale. Now, the first 800,000 is exempt. So 960, okay, minus 800,000. What you have less is 160,000, sorry. That's 160,000 is what you would then subject to tax and then split it by 12 for each of the months reading.
Okay, so I need Mr. Adeogo to confirm that answers his question. While he's doing that, Mr. Christopher says, thank you very much for the answer, sir. Here's another one. If you have an investor who invested in your business, will it be taxed as well? My income for a month is not up to 1 million yet. Am I taxable?
Okay, so if you have an investor who invests in your business, that money is a capital. Okay, that money is not a revenue. Your capital base is not taxed. So you go to the bank, for instance, and then you say, look, bank, I am trying to expand my business. I need 20 million loan. That loan is not income, okay? It's not generated from the operations of the business, so it is not subject to tax. If you then use the income, if you then use the inflow from what the investors are giving you, so the investors gave you some money, you then put that money into your business. Maybe you buy some assets, you employ some people, you expand operations, you pay some rent, and then as a result of this expanded operation, you then make more revenue and you incur more expense. Then the profit is what will be subject to tax. But that inflow from the investors or that loan that you took from the bank to expand your business is not income and is not subject to tax.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It's
hope
just
that
it is
is
important that sorry, Ms. Amal. It's important that you know this distinction because usually the tax authority will not tell you. The tax authority might look into your financial statement or might look into your bank statement and say, oh, you collected 20 million here, you collected 2 million here, and then subject all of those to tax, and then they'll say, go and pay. It is your job to then go to the tax authority and say, no, the 20 million is a loan from the bank, or the 20 million is inflow from my investors. It is not revenue. I am putting it in my business to generate profit, and this is actually what my profit is. So please, if you are ignorant, you might pay for it.
okay. Okay, good. Okay, so we have more questions. We have a question. Please, with my business name, I have. Okay, I think we had responded to a previous question. And he's now asking a follow-up question saying, I have not done accounting to know if I make profits or not. I use the business account for my personal accounts also. How do I come in for tax?
Don't do it, please. Don't do it again. I beg you. So what you don't want to do is to mix business money with personal money, because to the tax authority, money is money, and all money will be subject to tax. Okay. It is then your job to then start explaining to the tax authority to say, look, no, this is not my business money, this is my personal money. Don't use your business money for personal things unless it is tied to the business. For instance, if you have to buy fuel for your car to go and make a delivery, even though the car is your own, that's a business, that fuel that you bought for the car is a business expense, because if you are taking Uber, you would have still had to pay for the Uber or for the cab that you take to make those deliveries. Okay. So it is a terrible idea mixing your personal money with your business money. It is a terrible idea running your personal account, running your business with your personal account. Okay. If you want to give money to your business from yourself, give it to your business as a loan and collect it back from the business. Okay. It's allowed for you to loan money to your business and collect it back from the business. Okay. So please don't do that. And then start complying. Separate your business money from your personal money. Start complying with your taxes. If you're not, if you don't make revenue of greater than 100 million, the tax authority will probably not have that much. How do I say that? They won't have that much gusto, that much enthusiasm to come after you, because first they don't have unlimited resources. They don't have unlimited human resources. They don't have unlimited financial resources, and so they'll sort of focus on those who sort of earn more or make more money and have refused to comply. But please comply, because we might be getting to a place where AI and technology is used to just simply track compliance, whether you are big or small. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think we'll just go through 3 more questions and we can call it a day. And we have that already in the chat. We have this question that says, can we have a simplified Excel sheet to help us calculate our tax liabilities for SMEs? Does this exist today?
No, it does not exist for SMEs, for companies, okay, but it does exist for payee individuals. For individuals, it's on that fiscal committee website, the fiscal reforms tax committee, there is a template on that place to calculate pay. Yeah, to calculate how much. So if you are paying your employees certain salaries, you can go there and then calculate what the pay is. But for income taxes, you do not have any right now. I mean, there's the option of speaking to a tax consultant, maybe from any of all of the smaller firms, assuming maybe I can't afford big four representation. Speak to a tax consultant around you, speak to a smaller firm if they can just give you a sort of like template or a guideline, yes, that you can use in computing your taxes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. The next question is from Miss or Mrs. Omolara. I upgraded my business from enterprise to LTD in April 2025, and it came with a new TIN. Is this TIN number no longer valid? Do I have to get a new TIN from the new link?
Yeah, no, you don't have to get a new TIN from the new link. Your TIN as it is valid. Okay, so they provided that link so that people who are just registering their companies or who do not have any present TIN can go there and then get a tax ID. Because I mean, we no longer have TIN, it's now known as a tax ID. They can go there and get a tax ID. But if you already have one, you have a tax ID, which is your TIN as it is now, it is valid. Keep using it. You do not have any problems at all.
Okay, good. We have a question from Temitope. I think your response addresses that. I want to address one more, the last question for today. Okay, so I think okay, we have this one. I'm a fashion designer. I registered as a company in 2025, but I am yet to start my business in June. I got the TIN when I opened a company account and a business name earlier, but got another TIN from a new registered company, CAC. What do I do?
So usually all of these things are valid, and there is a thing from the Joint Tax Board, which I guess is what you got when you had the business name, and then there's another one from CAC, which is the normal thing that FIRC uses, but it's fine. Okay, most companies as it stands now, they have two things. They have one from the JTB and one from the NRS. If you open your tax promise portal, you will see a very long, about 17 or 18 digit number. Then you see another one with a -0001. That -001 is the NRS. The other very long one is the JTB. Both are fine and both are valid. If you have both, it is okay. Now, what you need to do is register or be profiled on Tax Promax. Visit the nearest NRS office close to you. Ask them to profile you on Tax Promax, get your username and login details. And if you already make above 100 million, file your returns. That's it. Just, I don't think you should worry about, I have two things. I think it's impossible to have more than two things. And the first one is the JTB, and the second one is usually the FIRS. Just take whatever thing that you have right now and comply. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. I just wanted to say, if you could give a summary, like a summary of everything we've discussed today, based on the line in which the conversation has gone in, from the questions to everything we've said, like a recap. I can even see questions of people asking for a recap. If there's one thing an SME needs to know as they're leaving this meeting, what would it be?
Is that if there's one thing that you need to know, it is that sometimes taxes are not, taxes doesn't mean that your money is going out. Okay. Taxes simply mean that the government has put in place a mechanism to sort of fund their budgets or to fund whatever it is that they need those monies for. And you have been put in a position to collect them. It doesn't mean that it is your money, really. For instance, if you are a large company over 100 billion to charge VAT, Somebody comes to buy from you, you charge them an extra 7.5. What you are doing in that extent is you are simply an agent of the government. You collect the money from them, you give it to the government. That's all. It is not your money. If it is withholding tax, you are supposed to pay something to the vendor. If it is a service and you are paying to the vendor, you deduct 2% from that money. You give it to the government. It is not your money. It is that vendor's money whom you have deducted from, and then you have remitted it to the government. Good. Now that's one. Two is that taxes apply on profits, not on revenue. Because when you make money, people's thoughts are like, oh, so I'm selling my good, the government will come and take. No, no. It is not on revenue, it is on profits. So while you are taking note of all of your income or all of your inflows, pay much more attention to all of your outflows, because for every expense you incur, you can deduct that expense from your revenue and then for profits. Now, there are allowable expenses and there are not allowable expenses. If you are deducting an expenses and it is not for the business, then they will not allow it. For instance, if you buy Ashwebi from business money, the government will not allow it to. Yes, the government will not allow it. And one of those ones where they said somebody is paying you money, write gift, it will simply not work, because it is not just that, it is not just the narration on your bank statement that the government is after. The government wants to see the substance of that transaction. So show me a receipt, show me an evidence. All of those things will know. So please keep good books of your income, keep good books of your expenses. Do not mix your personal money with business money. Do not do business with your personal accounts. Do not do personal things with your business account, because the government will take note of it. They are pretty thorough when they want to be. Believe me, the inefficiency in the tax authority is low. They want to do their job and they want to take their tax. So please, don't put yourself in a position where you then have to sort of be subject to any interest or penalties or for non-compliance. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I just want to give a recap, like from everything that I
Okay.
have learnt, basically, and I'm sure a lot of SMEs still have learnt as well. First off, just like you lastly said, good books is very important. In fact, it's almost like your expenses are like the most important component of it all, because those expenses reduce how taxable you are really, and you need to
Yeah.
keep records, keep good books. Please, I don't know, ask more questions, join forums like this, and this is where MTN Business in partnership with Smidan comes in. We're running a lot of interviews, shows, road shows, webinars to enlighten businesses as much as possible. This is the first of many. So we would have subsequent sessions, but we really want to demystify this as much as possible. I know there was a question asking about a simplified Excel sheet to help SMEs calculate their tax liabilities. I'm sure subsequently we would probably help or direct or be able to direct SMEs to be able to solve problems like this. And I think this is something that has stood out, and trust me, we would see how best we can help with this. But generally, I just want to tell us that MTN Business is at the forefront of enabling SMEs in the best possible way that we can. And on this note, I just want to say thank you very much, Mr. Patrick. Thank you so much. It really was
Thank
an
you.
insightful session, and I would like to introduce the next speaker, which is Omomi Olatubosun, who is the head of our SME segment here at MTN Nigeria. And she's going to provide an overview of my SME view and how it is designed to help our businesses scale sustainably. Welcome and good morning, Omomi. Okay, you're muted. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, you're still muted. You're still muted.
Please unmute your mic for
Good
me.
morning. Good morning. I'm having problems with my mic. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you now.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, so hello, distinguished entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders here today. Must say that it is a pleasure to be with you today, and it has been an insightful time. I have learned a lot about the new tax reform, so kudos to Mr. Patrick for doing justice to that. So today I'm just going to take 5 minutes of your time to introduce you to my SME view. In MTN and also SMEDAN, we know that you guys, micro businesses, small businesses, medium enterprises like you are the beating heart of our economy. You guys are job creators, you are innovators who actually turn ideas into livelihood. And for that, we give you kudos. But yet, despite the immense potential that you hold, we are aware that you face obstacles in your business, such as limited access to markets, how do you acquire customer, insufficient information, inadequate infrastructure, and also even difficulties with securing funds. But with my SME Ville, we are here to tell you that you do not have to struggle alone. You may then ask, what is my SME Ville? Well, my SME Ville is a platform that was jointly designed and developed by MTN Business and SMEDAN to provide SME like yourself with easy access to relevant information and solutions that are beneficial to growing and scaling your business. With my SME Ville, you will have access to an ecosystem of funders, partners, and supporters, all aligned with the national SME development goals. You'll be linked up with experts that will enable you to maximize your growth potential. You'll be equipped with technology tools that are essential in your business to drive productivity and efficiency. You'll be trained. You'll also be there'll also be skills development program to empower your dreams and also to drive innovation in your business. Furthermore, we would open you up to opportunities and new markets that will enable you showcase your product and services. So all these solutions are sort of integrated into one ecosystem, just to simplify your growth journey. So my call today, or my key ask today, is to invite you all to join our growing community on the My SME Ville. And you can do so by visiting ville.smedan.gov.ng. You do not want to miss out. You do not want to snooze on this one. So thank you and just have a good day. So Mesoma, I'll hand back to you. I'm hoping you guys could hear me and see me.
Yes, we could hear you and see you. Thank you very much for me.
You are.
Thank you. It's right on what we said. I can see more and more inquiries. I see people asking about how they can manage their bookkeeping. And I can see people responding. I can see a community even being created in the group chats. And this is the beauty of my SME Ville. My SME Ville has a community to enable businesses interact. Right now, there's a lot of businesses trying to understand the taxes, trying to understand how they can file better, how they are affected this kind of questions, this kind of conversations are the kind of conversations you would enjoy on my SME View. The links have been posted on the chat, so please do well to click on the link, play around with it, register. There are a lot of benefits. For example, the recap of this session is going to be on my SME View. We still have more exclusive interviews with Professor Taiwo Oyedele, which is going to be an exclusive on my SME View. So please sign up, register, and let's work together to help you achieve your business goals. On behalf of SMEDAN and MTN Business, thank you once again, each and every one of us who joined the call and are still on this call up until this hour. I want to say thank you for being part of our webinar, and I would love to wish you a continued success in your business journey. Please, let's remember to treat our businesses as businesses, create unique business accounts for our businesses, do your proper tax filings, and just ensure that you are compliant at every step of the way. Thank you.